Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tali and I make historically inspired clothes, and today we're going to make a 1950s dress from bedsheets. If you've been around for a while, you know that I love making things from bedsheets. It just feels like it's really hard to get a good patterned fabric these days, especially because I buy all my things online usually. So I recently went to TK Maxx and I wasn't even looking for anything in specific, but I came across the perfect bedsheets for sewing. I mean, look at this. It's this really pretty kind of olive green mossy willow pattern, and you might remember from my Instagram that I actually made a willow pattern dress some time ago and I absolutely adored it, but I felt like when you kind of were quite far away the whole pattern became a bit of a blur. It was made from dead stock fabric from Darcy clothing, so it was actually really lovely cotton fabric, but just it became kind of like a pastel green from further away, and like I'm quite a high contrast person, so I like to wear clothes that are quite saturated, so I just always felt like I looked quite ill in the dress, which was sad because I loved it. So I ended up selling it and it's found a new home and the person's really happy with it, but I really miss it. So when I came across this pattern, I was just like, this might actually replace the hole that the willow dress left in my wardrobe. So I'm hoping, because the willow leaves are actually a little bit larger, and I also really like that some of them are more of a dark green and others are more of a sage, so it gives it a bit more of dimension. So I'm really hoping that this will look cute on me. But I'm aware that this is already quite busy, so I don't want to make a dress that's too kind of like detailed. So at first I thought I should maybe make a Letty dress from it, because you know I have made the Letty dress 20 million times and I wear it every day and it's my favorite dress to wear. But I felt like it might even be a bit busy, because even this gingham pattern, which isn't quite as busy as the willow pattern, I don't know, I just thought it might not look as nice. So I spent some time on the internet thinking about, you know, what kind of dress could I make? And I've been wanting to make a 1950s dress for ages. So I was looking at kind of like the ones that have a bit more of a boat neck and the type of sleeves they have, tried to narrow down what was a kind of style that I wanted to settle for. And I came across this pattern that had this little tie up at the top, and I thought it would look so cute. And I think, because the rest of the dress is quite plain, that might look actually really cute, because it would have the little detail, but it wouldn't have a collar, it wouldn't have like a button front or anything. So I think that might be the way to go, and I'm quite excited. I haven't made a mock-up. So we're just going to trust the process here and really hope that I'm not going to regret using the fabric for this. But I've already pre-washed the fabric, so everything's ready to go, and I'm very excited. I hope you are too. We're going to start out this project with every seamstress's least favorite activity, which is assembling the pattern. So I've only printed the pattern pieces needed for the bodice, because I am just going to use my own circle skirt pattern for this, because the original pattern was more of an A-line that was strongly gathered at the waist, and I just feel like for my shape a circle skirt often looks a little bit better than an A-line skirt that's gathered. Let's cut this out. Luckily, because I'm not assembling the skirt, it shouldn't be too many pieces of paper. Are you going back? No, don't scratch the new sofa, Tilly. No, please don't. Let's cut this out. I've cut out everything, so we've got the back piece, which has the sleeve in it already, then the front and the yoke, which also has the sleeve here already, and then the little tie bit that kind of like wraps up here. We've got back facing, there it is, and the front facing, and then I've got my trusted circle skirt pattern, which will have a double bit in the front, a half one to each side, and the same to the back. And then I have, there it is, and then I've got my trusted pocket pattern, which I use for every single dress I make, and also for my tight skirt that I made previously. So these go into everything I make, and it's kind of the perfect size for a phone. One thing I wanted to mention, because I thought some of you might get annoyed, because I cut the paper with these fabric scissors, but they're my very old model of fabric scissors that I first got when I started sewing. They're not very good, which is why I repurposed them into my pattern cutting scissors. So my good fabric scissors, these ones here, have never seen any paper, and they will never see any paper. Just in case anyone saw that and wanted to get angry about it, I know, I'm not cutting patterns with fabric scissors. I mean, I am, but purposefully. I know what I'm doing. So that means next we are going to disassemble these bed sheets and we're going to start cutting out the pattern. Everything's cut out, and I have to admit it took my 3 brain cells like quite some effort to figure out in which way to cut this out, because I've realized that the pattern actually had a direction, so the leaves were always opening towards the same way. So then I thought it would be nice for the skirt to have the leaves going downward. So I'll show you a bit closer. This is what it looks like now. So the leaves are kind of like as if they were falling. But then, because on this channel everything's about the waist, so I thought that for the top, so I thought it would be nice for the top to have the leaves coming upwards. So everything's kind of like coming from the waist. So I had to spend some long and hard time thinking about how to cut out this pattern so that all the pattern pieces would line up in that way. But I think I've done it, and I've got a little bit spare just in case I need to cut something else out, or if I decide the top isn't working at all and I need to cut out a different top, which I hope I won't have to. So let's move over to the sewing room and assemble this. I will start by making the bodice because the pattern says I should put a little zipper into the underarm seam. And I'm really not good at sewing zippers. I'm hoping that it might be the same case as it is for my Letty dress, which is not really fitted, but has a little belt. So I'll show you this. If I take this off, it's not actually fitted, so it's not massive. It's just not tight at the waist. And both the Letty dress and the dress I'm sewing today are meant to have a matching fabric belt. So I am wondering whether I can get away with not fitting the dress and then just adding the belt so that I can just fit it by putting the belt on, which means I don't have to fit it and then put the zipper in. So I just think I'll go ahead, assemble the bodice, and then just like try it on and see whether I can get it over my shoulders without having the zipper. And if I can't, I'll just open the side seam back up. And then I'll consider that when I make the skirt, because then I'll have to make the pocket slightly different. Okay, so let's get started. Just thought I'd quickly come on here and tell you guys what I've done. The blouse is basically finished. I actually had to open up the side seam here because it was too tight for me to just get it over my shoulders, but that's fine. So I constructed the skirt in a way that it also has an opening to the side. So I'll show you guys how I made the pockets. Basically, this side has a pocket and the other pocket is just sandwiched into the side seam here like we normally do. But for this to work, I kind of inserted the pocket in a way so that this all lines up now, and I could just sew this as an entire seam, even though there is a pocket in here. And you do that by just normally attaching your first side of the pocket and then flipping it over and cutting the seam at the edges where it flips over, and then attaching the other side. And this actually doesn't make sense. I'm sure you can look up how to do it because I'm not the right person to tell you how to do it, but it is a possibility. It just means that now I have kind of like a straight edge of the fabric, which I can use for sewing in the invisible zipper, which I'm already a little bit terrified of. But that is what's been happening. Getting on quite well, but also there's still tons of stuff that needs doing. So I still need to finish the sleeves, which is just a little folded hem that I was planning to do. Then I want to iron everything and top stitch along the entire neckline. Hand stitch the facing down, attach the skirt to the bodice. Then I'll probably take a break and I'll let it hang out for a couple of days, and I'll continue in 2 days. And then that will be the day where I do the hem and the dreaded zipper. I did actually have to go back in because the little yoke thing, honestly, that was such a nightmare to sew on. I just couldn't figure out how it was meant to be arranged, and I completely sewed everything on wrong and had to detach it. But then also there was just way too much fabric right here, which didn't really make sense. So I just put a dart in, which isn't tidy, but it fixed the issue. Wait, I'll actually show you the pattern piece to explain what I mean. Because basically what happened is right here in this section, there was too much fabric. I guess I could have changed the angle of the piece that is underneath, but then this would have still created kind of like a lot of fabric here that I didn't need. So I just took a dart out of this here. And because the fabric is so loud, you can't even see that there is a dart in here because it's already kind of messy. But yeah, progress, and I will do some more finishing up, and then I will talk to you guys again next time I sew. Hello! We're going to finish up the dress today. Basically all that needs to be done is the hem and the zipper, and obviously the zipper is like terrifying. So hopefully by some completely unexplained reason this will go smoothly and the invisible zipper will actually be invisible, which challenge. Even if the zipper worked, something that's even more shocking is I am wearing trousers today. So not like leggings, which I do sometimes wear at home, but actual trousers, which I got for the house. I call them my house trousers. That makes sense. Let me show you. Fortunately, all my rooms are too small to actually show you what they look like, but maybe without. So I had to get them in a size large because obviously I've got really big legs, and then I had to make them smaller at the waist so that they fit. But Jack was looking at the baguette outfit from Expedition 33 because everything is always about Expedition 33 in my life currently. So he said that he thought this outfit would look good on me, and he was like, those trousers would actually suit your body shape. And I was like, no, because Lunde is really skinny and I've got huge hips. I think for the house they're cute and like to walk the dog, and just for like summer. They're from a brand called Halara, where I get my leggings. I've got Peters in the oven. I've got an iced coffee on my side, and I really have to work on the zipper, and I'm just procrastinating. So let's do it. I am very pleased to announce that the zipper has been sewn in. So it actually ended up being more invisible than I expected. I mean, look at this. You can't really see the zipper. But also the waistlines, they are not lining up at all. So right here and right there is where the waistlines are. But there's gonna be a little belt over it, so I know about it and you guys know about it, but no one else will ever know that these waistlines are not lining up. So the next thing I've done is I've evened out the hem, and I've just folded it twice and pinned it in place. So I'm just going to give it a little stitch to finish the hem. Then I'm going to get the ironing board out, and I'll press everything in place, and I still want to do the top stitch around the neckline and the facing just to keep everything in place. And then I need to make the little waistband, which I'm going to make quite long so I can tie it in the back with a bow. It's finished. So I have to admit, this fabric sewed and ironed so well. I'd love to buy more bed sheets from this brand, but I was actually looking them up online. So they're called the Heritage Collection by Aphorism, and I got it from TK Maxx. I just couldn't find anything else online. It's, I don't know, a weird thing, but like this fabric feels so lovely. It's like such lovely quality, and I only paid, I think, like under £20 for this. It was a single bed sheet. And as I was ironing this, I was actually thinking back to that first season of Gilmore Girls, which is a really random thought. But sometimes I just think back to that one episode where Rory was dressing up in 1950s clothes to cook for, what's his name, Dean, her first boyfriend. And then Lorelai made so much fun of her for like looking like a 1950s housewife. But then every single season afterwards had some episode where they did some kind of costume thing, and they'd always have like costumes already in their wardrobe. So I feel like double standards. But yeah, I just sometimes think back to that episode and how they made so much fun of Rory for wearing that cute dress, and I actually thought she looked so pretty in it. So now I've got my own 1950s dress. I was also watching The Grave of the Fireflies yesterday, so I'm a huge Ghibli fan, but I had never seen that one, and it recently came out on Netflix, so I thought, you know, this is a good chance for me to watch it. And you know how we cottagecore girls always say like, oh, I wish I lived in a Ghibli movie? I think we all live in The Grave of the Fireflies, if I'm very honest. It made me so sad, and it made me like really like worried about the future, and I was just like, what if I don't finish my PhD, or I don't find a job after my PhD? Are my pets just going to starve? No, Tilly says everyone in this house is going to starve before she's going to starve. But anyways, on that cheerful note, I will now go ahead and try this on off camera, because I've actually ordered a new 1950s petticoat from Vivian of Holloway, because I used to have one which I got off eBay, but it was really bad quality and I eventually threw it away. So I thought this was a good opportunity to treat myself to a new petticoat, because all of my petticoats are kind of made from cotton and they're more kind of like Edwardian or 1940s. So I thought it would be nice to have one of those really properly swooshy tall petticoats, and I did not want to make that myself, so I just bought it. I'm going to try this on and make sure that nothing else needs doing, and I think I am going to see you guys again in the reveal. Ha! I'm going to say anything else, Tilly? See you in the reveal. So as always, I thought we'd do a little wrap up about the dress and what I liked and what I think I could have done better. I feel like in general the dress is really cute, and I was actually surprised with the 1950s style because I haven't worn anything like that. I mean, haters would say it's just another dress, but I feel like it does look a little bit different to what I normally wear, and I really like it. And I also feel like the big petticoat really made it look kind of fluffy and like, I don't know, it looks fun. But also the dress is a little bit too long for the petticoat, so it almost like goes out and then drops. So I might, if I'm going to wear it with this petticoat more often, make it a little bit shorter perhaps. And also the entire dress is just a little bit too big. So at first I thought it would be fine because I'm wearing a little tie, and obviously all of my Letty dresses are really big as well. But I think it's just too big in general, so not just at the waist but also up here a little bit. So I think I might just go in, and because the zipper is underneath here so I can't just change the side seams, I might just add a little dart along the entire back. And then let it open up into a pleat at the waistband. Also, I think the entire bodice is a little bit too long, which is again fine because the belt is over it so you can't see it as much, but I don't know, I think it doesn't sit perfectly, but then I could have done a mock-up and found out, which I didn't do, which is fine. But I've already worn the dress to work a couple of times and just like for fun things on the weekend, and I do really like it. And even though it's got the short sleeves, and I'm sure you're aware, I have an absolute hate of my upper arms. It's like, I don't know, it's just, I hate my arms. And actually the video I posted recently where I was doing my hair, I could not look past my arms. Editing it, I was just like staring at my arms. But so that kind of makes me a little bit hesitant to make shorter dresses, because if my upper arms aren't show, I just don't like it. But I feel like because of the way it's cut, it actually is fine. It doesn't draw any attention to my upper arms. And I just feel like my videos are just becoming me talking about my insecurities. But you know, now you know it, it's out there. I hate my arms, I hate my legs. Yeah, I think generally it turned out cute, and I think I'm gonna make more 1950s things in the future. But anyways, that's it from me for this video. We're gonna make more things in the future. We're going to, I don't know, you guys also quite liked the hair tutorial I've done, so I thought maybe I'd talk about something else in the future that's more beauty related. I actually have this idea that I want to talk to you guys about my vintage lipsticks, because I've spent so much time running through different shades of red because I was looking for the perfect red. But also, even though I love wearing lipstick, I hate the sensation of it and I get so overwhelmed. So I thought maybe I'd do a video about that one day, because I do genuinely have like a million lipsticks, and some I love, some I hate, and I don't know, I just thought, you know, a lot of people have sensory overload from lipsticks, so because I now found one that I don't hate, that might be worth sharing. But other than that, I'll continue sewing, and I hope that I will see you in my next video. Bye!